If you're interested in reaching larger audiences, not only to demonstrate your copywriting skills, but to gain high-paying clients, then pay close attention. I'm going to share with you how I write and promote information products. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips, and we're going to talk specifically about writing special reports. Now, I have a larger, more detailed program about it, but I want to share with you an idea that is kind of obscure. Now, it was definitely obscure to me years ago. I've been in this business for more than 2 decades, and I've written thousands and thousands of reports. Now, these reports, about half of them have never seen the light of day. Now, why would I write something and never share it? Well, I have no idea. I put the effort in. I wrote it to a specific audience. I even gave it to some private clients, which it did facilitate the assignments that I received. But really, the program never benefited from the leverage that information resources have, especially today. Many of these reports were not placed on Amazon so that they can be in front of thousands and thousands of people looking for that type of information. They weren't submitted to white paper directories where some corporate folks actually look for solutions. And they certainly weren't part of a direct marketing campaign where I went directly to people who could benefit from that report and receive it. Now, that's for about half the report. So a lot of these reports might have been 30, 40 pages that was essentially a sales letter, and they did go as part of a campaign. But then again, there was this point probably 10 years ago when I realized that I don't have to create new materials to get clients. I can simply recycle the marketing I already have. Now, have you ever had a marketing campaign that you did in the past, it worked well enough, and then you set it aside and did something else? Well, if you haven't been writing enough marketing campaigns, but I can guarantee that any client who could hire you for a significant amount of money, 5-figure assignment, 6-figure assignment, they have done thousands and thousands of marketing campaigns, of which many were one-time use. Now, especially in the newsletter marketing area, so the newsletter publishing business, certainly in the health business, certainly in other major tiers of marketing, they've done this more than a few times. Now, you might be saying, well, why would a company pay a lot of money to write a campaign and then either never use it or only use it once or twice? And it's because they don't understand the value of the parallel promotion. Now, you can evidence that companies have spent a lot of money on copy that they're not using because you probably have a swipe file. And every company I've ever worked with, any company I've sold for, they have some kind of swipe file. And that's where we're going to start. So if you're going to write a special report, if you're going to write a promotional piece, you never start from scratch. Now let's talk about this parallel promotion opportunity and specifically how I'm writing reports. So I just got finished recording a 26-minute presentation about why great talent is squandered in an unexamined life. Now, I produced that for a different newsletter, a newsletter called Inside Strategic Relations. There'll be a link below to that program. And the program is literally me reading and paraphrasing from a 6-page essay. Now, this essay, I woke up. I haven't even had breakfast at the time of this recording, and I wrote the 6 pages, top to bottom, using a copy formula in order to stress the importance to the reader that they will not achieve what they desire unless they do analysis on the legitimacy of those desires. You know, were those desires placed there by marketing people like yourself, or are they legitimate benefits to the individual who's receiving this report? Now, I had already written, and I'm going to go through the formula right now because this is powerful. I had already written 4 pages of headlines. So I got a headline book, you know, one of these books you can get on the internet for free. I probably have a few resources at the Ad Briefing site, but I literally wrote 200 headlines. Now, again, you've probably heard somebody recommend that, but have you actually done it? And see, here's what happens. You write the outline of your report, just the high level. What are the questions the audience wants answered? What are the experiences? What's the offer we have? And then you go back again and you write more headlines and you write more headlines. And then I did something called writing fascinations. And as I'm writing the fascinations or teasers, I've got this report in hand. And by the way, the report's called What Do You Want and How Do You Get It? Okay. So I have this first draft of the report. I write all these headlines. I write all these fascinations and teasers. And then what I do is while I'm writing these things is I go back into the report and I add additional segments. So I added something about here that says the simple reason why this method works and is far superior to any other method is because it develops focus and goal setting abilities. And if you apply this new understanding, you can achieve anything quickly. So this is a promise that's in the report. And I wrote a thing here and I said, has your boss been so bad that you've gotten PTSD? That your work is literally giving you PTSD. What is PTSD? I answer that in here. And then I say, if you wake up more than 2 days in the last week thinking of work, perhaps you need to get rid of them. And this thought alone is creating stress. So what I've done is I was working through the headlines and I saw that I had a gap in my report because I haven't really stressed first that the method is simple and specifically what the method does, but I haven't given them a good reason why. And their mind moves towards the things that they desire, but they keep waking up thinking about a bad boss. And now I've got to quantify this. I've got to, quote, put the science in. So what's the disorder that happens when you constantly relive bad experiences? When you constantly fear and you constantly or just can't sleep because everything is so messed up? Well, that's PTSD. Now, I have some filler in here because I define PTSD because you can't assume your reader knows what these things are. So I define it for them and then I reiterate in the application of their life. So the reader's reading this and I say, here's what, maybe your boss is giving you PTSD. Here's what PTSD is. And then I give them a test. If you wake up more than 2 times in the last week thinking of work, see, how many times do you think of work? Everybody thinks of work all the time. They wake up in the morning, they think, I got to go to work. Okay. So they're going to say, yes, maybe my boss is giving me PTSD. And you know what? I need to do something about this. Okay. So this came from headlines. And those headlines then translated into a draft, an additional element in this particular report. Now, I print these all out. It's in a 3-ring binder right in front of me. And I print these out. But guess what? In the case of waking up this morning and writing 6 pages, I recorded those 6 pages as a podcast. This is the parallel promotion. So if you're writing a sales letter for a client or lead generation pieces for a client and you're not using those pieces as you go, then you're missing out on an opportunity to start getting incremental progress towards the goal of conversion. So let me give you a practical example. I've written a giant list of headlines. I've written a number of teasers. So for example, one of the teasers is, don't let anyone you love go through life without all you can provide them. Free report reveals how any working professional can achieve more with fewer resources. So that's a teaser. That's a fascination. Well, if you're paying attention, you noticed I put a headline ahead of a teaser and then a call to action afterwards, and I can start generating leads right now. And since I recorded those 6 pages as a podcast, it's only 26 minutes, I can send them to the podcast. So before I finish writing this report, I will have given my audience something of value, which is essentially a chapter out of the report. And I will give it to them through the research I used to develop the report so that they now are on my mailing list. This is very important. Now, if you're writing these reports for yourself, it could be 6 things you must know before you hire any copywriter. And then your podcast is the 6 things they need to know. And then at the end of the podcast, it's, oh, by the way, if you're in the market to hire a copywriter, Raise your hand, and I'd love to hear the challenges you face and see how we might be able to resolve those so that you can get copy that sells. Do you see where I'm going here? We are doing the marketing campaign as we're writing the sales letter, as we're writing the special report, as we're developing the ideas and concepts, we're building a mailing list. Now, there's going to be times where you can go find lists to rent. And those lists to rent are going to have a great avatar that you can work from, or you can add elements of it to your avatar. And you can literally then start testing headlines using pay-per-click. Now, there's one thing that keeps people from doing this parallel promotion method is because it does hold you accountable to finish the actual report. Now, again, a report can be 15 pages. It can be a problem, the pain of that problem, the solutions that other people have tried, and then at the end, a call to action to get involved with what you have to offer. You don't have to write a 50-page report or a 500-page book. You can simply start with elements of information. Now, what's so powerful about this method is that as I'm writing headlines, as I'm going through this printed version of this report, asking myself, does this contain everything my reader needs to make a decision to take action? I'm drawing out leads who can give me feedback on the report itself. Now, I don't want feedback about, oh, that's great writing, or yeah, I'm definitely going to do it. I want feedback of where do I get more information? How can I hire you to help me? Now, that means in the report, I actually tease with success stories. So here's one of the headlines. So I was writing headlines, and I had previously, it says, here are a few success stories. Now, that's really boring. That doesn't really get people drawn into it. So what I added before that is a headline that says, it's not a shame to have all the success you want, especially when these clients have done it before you. Okay, and then I have 4 success stories. Because if you're writing a special report or a case study, you have to show the reader that what you're advocating they do actually works, and here's the evidence. Now, these success stories are paragraphs about successes I've had with clients. See, I'm expanding the report, making it more interesting. Now, there is an element in this report where I'm setting up a price. I'm setting up the price. Now, this particular report that I'm writing, What You Want report, helps the reader get primed to understand what it is that they want before they hire me for a paid consultation. Now, in this report itself, I want to set up that the paid consultation is so cheap, it's so much value that it doesn't matter what they pay for it, because I basically want them to send in a question and ask for more help. So what I do in here is I say, look, here's a method in order to get better clarity in your life, to determine whether the goals and objectives you have are worthy of your time, and to cultivate a plan that gets you there. And by the way, how to turn this exercise into a business building retreat or workshop. So many of the people that are on this particular mailing list are millionaires, they own companies, they have high incomes, and they have a team. And they want that team to be more successful because in turn, the more successful the team is, the more successful they can be because we're lifting up each other. So what I put in here is I say with a little creativity, you can do this exercise with your team. It is important you do it yourself around your personal objectives first. After you have written a narrative about your outcomes, challenges, and what life will be like when you achieve, then this concept will work for your team. So I'm letting them know that, look, once you understand this, you can multiply your success by helping other people understand it. Now, I frame out a little bit what this program would look like, and then I give them some warnings. I say large corporations invest tens of thousands of dollars in board of directors, executives, and other key stakeholders, sending them to these types of functions. So I'm almost pitching a little business opportunity here. Hey, once you fix this for yourself, you can help other people fix it. And then they essentially perform the exercise I detail in this report. So I'm reinforcing the value of the report. A guide or facilitator walks them through the steps, but adds a few creative exercises to stimulate thinking. Well, this report says nothing about creative exercises that stimulate thinking. It also puts the reader in a position that if they want to do this with a workshop, they're probably going to need a facilitator because they're not going to get as much out of it if they're doing all the work. And certainly, they can hire somebody. But I say, look, if you're interested in such a business building retreat or personal peak performance workshop, then fax my office at 877-486-8461. Right now, the 2 retreats I work with, now I actually do go to retreats, and I have an associate in the area that has a retreat center, and then there also is a nice resort where we spend a lot of time for retreats. I'm basically telling the reader, hey, if you're going to do this after you do this for yourself, you can certainly do this as a retreat for your team or your business. And by the way, if you need help, contact me. Stay with me, folks. I'm going fast because there's a lot to cover. Now, again, I told you that I have segments in this report that set up more expensive services. So I say another retreat is destination-based. Now, there's some editing I have to do here, but I basically tell them that along the Blue Ridge Mountains, there's some retreat locations. These workshops start at $21,000 with fees per student at $3,995 or more. It's the kind of investment that transforms perspective. So I'm telling them, hey, look, you can do this exercise for free for yourself, and I encourage you to do so before you try to teach it to anybody else. But if you do want to teach it for other people, I'm charging $21,000 to do it. It's going to be at a resort location. It's going to be immersive. It's going to have creative thinking exercises. It's going to be wonderful. But guess what? That's not what this report is about. See, I take them off the hook because in the next chapter, I tell them, well, what's the catch? Because I told you I charge big money for a retreat. Now, again, if you're a millionaire and you're having a little trouble focusing, you're a little distracted at work, you've got all these things drawing you away from your goals and objectives, and you can take a tax-deductible donation, not a tax-deductible donation, but you can basically have the business pay for you to go to a resort and play golf and think about your future and write a plan and build a narrative, then you might want to do that, but that's not what this report is about. You got to fax my office. You got to ask questions. You got to take that step forward. I don't need to have the whole report done to use this chapter to promote this report. Because after this, I didn't tell them what's the catch. Why have I written this report? Again, every chapter of your book that hasn't been finished yet, it's okay. Every chapter of your book is an opportunity to generate leads. Do it now. Every sales letter you write can be digested into lead generation pieces that you can be testing right now. Now, I'm talking about this for you and promoting yourself to get high-ticket clients, but are you doing this with your customers? If you get hired to write a sales letter, explain this concept to them. Hey, look, I would love to write this sales letter for you, and you probably have a large number of sales letters you've used in the past. Let's get a few of the sales letters that you know work well, and while I'm writing your new sales letter to test your control, let's write a few lead generation pieces to test our new concept. Okay, this is important. They don't want to test the old concepts because in their mind, they believe those controls are dead, and now they're trying to beat it because they know the clock is ticking. And what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow, and they got to have a new letter in place. And you know what? You're letting them know that that we can make this letter better if we start generating leads immediately. And they're going to say, well, if we're generating leads for a sales letter you're writing, then how can they convert to become customers because the sales letter is not done? Oh, no. We'll send these leads to the old sales letters. We'll send these leads to whatever campaign you have today. And then when my campaign is done, we'll do an A/B split. Now, sophisticated marketers know what an A/B split is, but an A/B split is where you're going to test the old thing against the new thing using the traffic that's coming in. Now you've increased the amount of traffic they've got coming in. They got a little bit of results. And then when you put your letter in place, you're going to know more about those people who are converting and then ultimately can test your idea against their idea. It's a larger assignment. It's more valuable to the client, and it literally writes the piece for you. So this special report that I've got right here has like the 3 hidden keys and reasons why I'm making you this offer. Okay? then there is no offer. Actually, all I'm asking them to do is do the exercise in the report. The offer is do the exercise in the report. If you do the exercise in the report and you can send me a few details about what you've done, I'm going to give you something for free. And that's kind of the purpose of a special report. You give them a free special report to give them a free something else. And that free something else is pretty much a sales presentation. In this case, this special report teases them about other things they can buy, but ultimately gives them something of value and proves that it's something of value, and then gives them a next step to engage in a paid consultation. So again, I'm developing this report while marketing this report, while generating leads for this report, while testing headlines for this report, while doing all these other things. And that's how I can guarantee that even if I never publish this report, even if it never sees the light of day in a public platform like Amazon, or it never becomes a book, the 100 or 200 people who get to see this are going to benefit from it. And they're going to be so deep entrenched in a marketing campaign that many of them will become paying clients. This is very important to understand. I'm self-financing this report. Now, this report's only 12 pages right now. When it's done, it's probably going to be maybe 30 pages. When it's done, I don't put it on the shelf. I keep extracting things out of my headline list. I wrote 200 headlines. Now, it's easy. You put the book down and you read a headline and you say, well, does that make sense for this particular offer? Let me give you one of the headlines. How bad a beating are you willing to take to remain free? Oh, man, that's heavy. That's heavy, but that came out of a headline book. I didn't come up with that. Do you make these mistakes trying to be successful? Here's another one. Do you make these mistakes trying yet not succeeding? Oh, do you make these mistakes in English? It's basically, I'm reusing it. Again, the headlines become marketing materials. Pay-per-click campaigns. Now, it's a lot to manage. Believe me, it's a lot to manage. But that's what your client is thinking, and now you can offer management services. Hey, we're going to write you this sales letter. We're going to create a few lead generation pieces and go ahead and get them out in front of your target customer. Tell me a little bit about your target customer. Have you written an avatar? Oh, you don't know what an avatar is? It's a narrative that describes the emotional needs and desires of your client so that we can better meet them where they are and bring them towards where you want them to be. Wow, I don't have an avatar. Could you write an avatar for us? Sure, we'll write an avatar for you. Let me put that on the list right here. Oh, and by the way, we're going to write a sales letter. Before we write the sales letter, it would be wonderful in order to look at the controls that you have of selling this product already. Well, what is a control? Well, control is the marketing campaign that you know works. Oh, well, we don't know if any of the campaigns work. That's why we're hiring you. Oh, I'm so glad you contacted me because I've got something that's going to help you. We need to audit the analytics on your website. We need to look at how you're tracking leads. Can you tell me where the majority of your leads are coming from? Because, people on Facebook are different than people on LinkedIn. And then next thing you know, the client is like, oh my God, you've just got to do this for us. Now, of course, if they have a department, you can train that department that they have. You can provide guides. I've seen, and I've written this before, but I've written a huge manual of basically the avatar. So I used to sell to technical services managers. I wrote this giant binder about the emotional desires, the needs, the frustrations of technical services managers. And I was using it for myself. It worked really well. It gave me a good understanding of the types of clients that I was getting. And then I basically photocopied it and sold it to 10 people. Each of those people paid thousands of dollars for it, and they benefited from it. But again, we want to recycle our marketing. We want to promote while we write. We want to tease the marketplace. We want to know clearly who we're marketing to or who needs to take action. We want to have a clear inventory of benefits. One of the things I'll be doing with this report is I'm going to audit this report. When I get my final draft, which I'll have shortly, I'm going to audit it. And I'm going to say, am I really delivering value? Am I really making it clear why the reader must do exactly what I tell them to do? Am I giving them evidence and proof? Am I making it real and tangible and building up that level of just gotta do it? And then, but then I already got about 300-400 leads, and I can just work those leads. I can literally ask their leads. I can say, hey, look, you got the excerpt, why great talent is squandered in an unexamined life. Tell me a little bit about your unexamined life. What would you like to achieve? What would you like to be, have, or do? I'm doing a webinar next week on how to do it. Now you can have all this. I like to use audio because I have it transcribed. And then the transcriptions go into the report, and then I have somebody edit the report, and then we're done. You do it the way it works for you, but understand that this thinking of parallel promotion opens the door to larger opportunities, larger client assignments. It is a wonderful service to the client, especially if you've got mid-range clients who don't have the resources to do this kind of stuff. And if you've practiced at it, it really doesn't take a lot of time. You can hire a webmaster, a pay-per-click person, and you can just start doing this. Now, if you're doing print materials, I found that you can get mailing houses to help you so that you provide a letter to the mailing house and they manage the lists and they get everything sent out. We can talk about that at another time. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's copywriting tips, and I want to share with you how easy it can be to write special reports. Now, if you want help with this, again, just like every podcast, I give you the opportunity to raise your hand and ask questions. If you're willing to tell me a little bit about your situation, ask the questions that you have when it comes to writing special reports, I'll get you additional resources so that you can start right now. Now, what's most important about what I've shared with you today is that it works for sales letters, special reports, even lead generation pieces. Hey, you want me to generate some more leads for you? What are we going to do with the leads? Oh, what about the sales script? What about the sales letter? Are you sending a special report? Do you see how this stuff all connects together? Now, yes, you will get clients that say, I just want a sales letter. Write the damn sales letter. That's fine. But you can't be held to the success of that sales letter if you don't have these other research elements, if you don't have this testing elements, and you don't have a system that actually give you numbers to know that things are working. Anyway, again, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. If you have any questions, visit www.adbriefings.co.uk, where I'm here to help you with words that sell. Not just what words to put on the page, but the emotional connection, the methods for editing, the ways to create your deliverables so that you get maximum results with minimum inputs. Thanks for listening.